Hi, class. Welcome to our Read Aloud for today. This Read Aloud is more of a scientific book. It'll help us really understand how does a seed start as a seed, but then end up as a plant. Now, the author and illustrator of this book is Gail Gibbons, and she has written so many children's books. She's really quite an expert. And so let's lean in and listen to what Gail Gibbons has to teach us today about seeds and plants. From Seed to Plant by Gail Gibbons. Here we go. Most plants make seeds. A seed contains the beginning of a new plant. All different kinds of plants. Seeds are different sizes, shapes, and colors. All seeds grow into the same kind of plant that made them. So look at all the variety of seeds there are. So many different looks. And do you see that tree? Acorns grow on that tree, and acorns are a type of seed, and they grow into an oak tree. And do you see the other seed? Do you recognize it? It's a sunflower seed, and it grows into a sunflower. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Most plants grow flowers. Flowers are where most seeds begin. A flower is made up of many parts. All right, and look at those there. Zinnias and an apple tree, a dandelion, an aster. And then here it's talking about the different parts of the plant. Down here is something you're familiar with, the stem. Here's the sepal. These ends here are called the stamen. And the yellow stuff, bees love that, don't they? That's the pollen. And there's a sticky part at the top of the pistil, and it's the stigma. And then over here in the center of the flower is the pistil, right here. Kind of that stem-looking thing in the center of the pistil. Before a seed can begin to grow, a grain of pollen from the stamen must land on the stigma at the top of the pistil of a flower like itself. This is called pollination. Pollination happens in different ways. Often wind blows pollen from flower to flower. So there's the parts of the flower again. And here's the wind blowing that pollen. You know, I've seen pollen just dusting surfaces, haven't you? You get this yellow film on top of your patio table or on top of your car, and that's pollen. But there's more ways that pollination happens. Bees, other insects, and hummingbirds help pollinate too. While they visit flowers for their sweet juice called nectar, pollen rubs onto their bodies. Then they carry the pollen to another flower where it comes off onto its pistil. So there's a bee and a hummingbird digging down deep to get to that sweet nectar. But look at the yellow pollen that's sticking to their bodies. And then when they go to another like flower, then the pollen from this flower gets on that flower, and that's called pollination. If a pollen grain from a flower lands on the pistil of the same kind of flower, it grows a long tube through the pistil into the oval. This is the beginning of a seed. The seeds grow inside the flower even as the flower begins to die. As the seeds become bigger, a fruit or pod grows around them. The fruit or pod protects the seed. So on this picture right there, you can see that white strand going down there. That's because the pollen is going into the oval to make seeds. And then, see how God has made protection for those seeds? by having fruit go around it. When the fruit or pod ripens, it breaks open. The seeds are ready to become new plants. Some seeds fall to the ground around the base of the plant where they will grow. Recognize that seed over there? Look at that. That's a vegetable that you might grow in your garden. And here's some seeds dropping off to the ground when new plants will grow. Some pods or fruits open and the seeds pop out. Sometimes when birds eat berries, they drop the seeds. Other seeds fall into streams, ponds, rivers, or the ocean. There they travel on the water until they stick to the dirt along the shore. There's a bird carrying seeds and dropping some. Do you remember that we learned that coconuts are really a great big seed of this palm tree? And look, they're floating in the water and then they find a new spot to grow. The wind scatters seeds. Some seeds have fluff on them, like dandelions, right? That lets them float to the ground like tiny parachutes. Others have wings that spin as they fall. That's the maple. Animals help scatter seeds too. They hide acorns and nuts in the ground. Some seeds have hooks that stick to the fur of animals or people's clothes, and then later they drop off to the ground. So here's the wind as a source, and here's animals and people as a source. Have you ever had like little burrs kind of that stick to you? Well, you are a pollinator then too, aren't you? You're transferring those seeds. Maybe pollinator's not the quite the right word, but you do transfer seeds that way. I bet Theo is transferring a lot of seeds in his Velcro-like hair. A flower bed or vegetable garden is beautiful. Seeds are planted to grow in the gardens. The seeds come in small envelopes or boxes. Directions explain how to plant the seeds and care for the plants. And there at the bottom you can see them preparing the soil, and at the top you can see what happens after those plants have had enough nutrients and care for them to grow. The beginning of a plant is curled up inside each seed. Food is stored inside the seed too. The seed has a seed coat on the outside to protect it. A seed will not sprout until certain things happen. First, it must be on or in soil. Then it needs rain to soak the seed and soften its seed coat. Here's a great big picture of what a seed might look like. So in the middle of that seed, this whole huge area is the food of the seed. And then you can see right here that a plant is already beginning to form. And this area around the seed is kind of like a little shell called the seed coat. And it's kind of a hard surface to protect it until it rains. Or you water it, and then the rain softens that seed coat, and that plant that's growing inside can begin its growth journey. When the sun shines and warms the ground, the seed coat breaks open and the seed begins to grow. This is called germination. A root grows down into the soil. The root takes in water and minerals from the soil for food. Up grows a shoot. Green leaves grow up from the shoot toward the sun. So we've kind of been journaling about that this week, haven't we? About the roots going down and the plant coming up with the leaves. Okay, let's see what happens next in a plant's life. The plant grows bigger and bigger. The leaves make food for the plant from the water and minerals in the soil, the sunlight and the air all around the plant. Finally, the plant is full grown. Buds on the plant open into flowers where new seeds will grow. You can see here kind of that process. The roots have gotten big. You can still see a little bit of that seed. You can see those tendrils curling. And then what happens? See the flowers start to form, and that's where the new seeds begin. And that journey is going to start all over again. It's a cycle, isn't it? Many of the foods people eat are seeds, fruits, and pods. They are full of nutrition, vitamins, and minerals, and they are tasty too. Look at those things that come from seeds. You eat that all the time. And then this kind of goes along with our science that we did today of planting seeds, right? You've got your seeds in your soil and you had to water it and put it in the sunlight. And then hopefully soon you'll have a plant that grows. Well, boys and girls, from seed to plant. I hope you have the opportunity to plant many, many seeds.